This is it, fellas. We've been at it for 4.5 months, 17 episodes. Well, this is the 17th episode. And we have been all over the place, all over the map, all the way up into the Orcish lands. Well, not all over the map. I mean, really just, kind of on the center. Basically, the borderlands where you would expect any kind of fighting to occur. We started off with basically 3 or 4 armies on a side, and there we go, lock that bad boy in. 3 or 4 armies on a side. We randomly determined that the Bromans wanted to procure the girdle of St. Vince McMaximus, which they did, and so they earned themselves a minor victory with that. They also got away with 114,000 gold, so that's going to give them an even better victory, but in the late stages, the great Emperor Khan finally got off his big green duff and raced on down here to Hobfort to rescue some of his many, many prisoners. Then, well, not to rescue the prisoners, he came down to Hobfort to get the loot, was too late, so he decided, I'm going to smash Hobfort and carry away, whatever loot isn't nailed down. Then he came down to Heavingford. Ignore the loot, that was on 728. We are well beyond that now. The loot was pushed down to Cedar Landing. That's where it sits right now as we speak. And we fought the last week. Remember, we fought the Battle of Exodite Farm. August 21st. Took a little while because we had a lot of bad weather that basically trapped everyone at home for a good week and a half. But that is all over now. We have fought the Battle of Exodite Ranch. Here it is, and here's the aftermath. So, basically, it was a giant, some horses. What else? About 1,000 heavy foot on the part of the orcs, and really, they are badly outnumbered. We got 1,000. We got 1,000 orcs. We got like 1,400. Orcs. We have about 1,000 heavy foot, about 1,300 armored foot, plus, not too many, about 300 heavy knights. The knights raced up, chased all these guys off, and then fought with Murray Mac the Giant, who did huck a few boulders and wipe out a bunch of these armored foot. This battle went, they were fighting to a draw until this extra armored foot hit them in the flanks. Basically captured all those guys. So if we take a look at the numbers, we'll run those, and what do we find? We find that the Bromans have captured another 840 heavy foot prisoners, 65 chariots, all at the price of just about 200 guys killed. They did manage to kill, less of the orcs, but that's fine, Then the orcs, the horses, ran off. Now, old Murray Mac is a mercenary, so what we did is we decided, hey, look, once he took like 8 to 10 wounds, he ran off. He is now headed back home. Man, what an adventure he had. Came down, stomped on a bunch of knights, and then that was basically it. But we have to move on now. We have to take a look, because if you recall, last time when we figured out this siege, the orcs smashed Hobfort. Not too surprising, it's a tiny little village. Now, Heavingford, see how there's 2 houses? Is a larger village, a bigger area. There are 3 companies of militia. We haven't really talked about that a whole lot, but, whatever, it's fine. Bear in mind, because of all the rain, the Godspring River is flooding, and really, technically, we could probably say this is a port town. They're not going to do great. The orcs are not going to have an easy time laying siege to Heavingford, because they are going to be able to send supplies in and out through the docks. The orcs can't get over onto the western bank, or the eastern bank, rather, of the Godspring. But, hey, you know what? These are the rules we've been using. These are the rules we're going to keep on using. So that's what we used here. And basically, all they had to do was pin these guys down in place and wait for disease to do what it does. Because they invested the town in a siege on, and here's our notes, starting on the 23rd. Well, I think they moved to Heavingford on the 13th. And then on the 19th, we found that everybody had plenty of supplies. But starting on the 23rd, the Bromans began to lose 10% of their troops per day. Running the numbers, that means on September 2nd, the last defender finally dies. Okay, great. Now what that means is we got to take a look at this victorious army down here. This battle took place on August 21st. On August 22nd, they have to secure their prisoners. by the way, those additional, what are we up to here? These additional, basically 900 prisoners brings this up to 3365. If the siege is successful, if rescue does not arrive, then the orcs will be able to free up these 2,500. So let's find out what happens. As usual, it's going to take a day to free up these prisoners. Okay, fine. That's there to, recover your wounded and your dead and chase down whatever survivors are running around. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So then we need to look at what our movement rates are for the entire army. And remember, we've only got a few hundred heavy knights. Now, the knights could make it here in time for sure. Okay? They are going to be moving along this road. Let's go back to old Bill Sylvester. He tells us our cavalry moving on good roads are going to be able to move 1.25 inches per turn, right? So what are we looking at here in the total distance? It's going to be about 6, let's call it 7 inches, because you got to kind of take this little bend to the south. So it would only take them 6 days. Well, that would put them there on the 28th, and maybe we'll do that. Maybe the knights will arrive to shore up the defenses. That is easy. But without the other... What are we looking at here? Basically 1,800 troops. Remember that we do need to dispatch 200 guards. So that's going to be 700 heavy foot, 1,100 armored foot, and that's really the heavy hitters right there. Those armored foot are dangerous. Now, how long will it take those guys to slog their way over? And one of the things we got to check here is that as they're moving, we are going to encounter a couple of days of rain. The 21st, it was light rain. All right, that's fine. 22nd is clear. The first day of light rain, there's no effect. Heavy rain is going to slow them, and light rain is going to slow them. And then they're clear all the way to the 1st, which is fine because on the 2nd, they'll show up. So if we take a look at our movement rates, on day 1 of light rain, nothing happens, and then we're slowed by 1/4. And then, heavy rain on day 2, I think we're slowed by 1/2. Okay, so that's going to be important. That may come into effect, right? So that is going to be on, and we're just going to take it one day at a time. So that first day is off-road from the battlefield. They're going to be able to get back down here to where the former Battle of Blagton Road. That's going to be on the 23rd. On the 24th, they will be able to hike to here. And then on the 20th, so that's 3/4 of an inch. On the 25th, they wind up here. And remember, on the 26th, they're going to be slowed by 1/4. So instead of being able to make it to this 3/4, they're going to be basically in Broholm. Now, remember, we also have to look. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they're going to be slowed by 1/2, 5. And then they're going to be able to move to, there's day 6. So they're going to have to stop right here on, and you can see, so where are we at? We're at the 22nd, it's the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. They're going to have to rest here on the 29th. And at this point, it's looking tight. 29, 30 to here, and then 31 to here. There's the 31st. On the 1st, they're going to go 3/4 of an inch. They are going to be 1 day out. So they're going to arrive on the 2nd of September. So the very day that the last defenders give up the ghost and die of the plague, we have, now again, remember, the king is going to arrive at least a day or two early to take command of things. And then on the 22nd, as the orcs are prepared to storm in from the west, the reinforcements arrive from the east. And I think it's safe to say that Heavingford stands. Now, they're not transporting all of these prisoners with them. They would slow them down too much. But basically what's going to happen here is that we need to compare, let me, do I have it here? No. Let me grab the prisoners. Let me grab the papers with it. Now, as you know, I keep track of my army rosters analog. I have a couple of fresh ones here. So this will tell me the Northeast Legion That's the army of the Bromans over here. That Northeast Legion had 60 heavy foot guarding the loot. Wait, where I wrote it down on the Battle of Pink Phantom Hills, the second Pink Phantom Hills. Here we go. I guess I didn't update my analog spreadsheet there, did I? That's okay, I've got this here. It's going to be a total of, the Khan has captured 1,900 prisoners. To that, you have to add... Boy, didn't they have another batch of prisoners? No, I don't think they did, because that's right. So it's 1,900. So you're now looking at, basically almost a 2-to-1 advantage in prisoners. And I think, perhaps magnanimously, the Emperor Meltzer says, look, here's the deal, guys. You give me back my 1,900 boys. I'll give you back all 3,400 of your boys, and you just head on back home, okay? I'll even call it even for Hobfort, but I'm keeping the belt, I'm keeping the loot, and so it becomes not a total victory for the Bromans. They did suffer some setbacks, but altogether, if you look at what happened, they really thumped the Orcs pretty good. They eliminated Murray Mac. They warned him, don't you come down south here no more, boy. We know how to deal with big boys like you. Big thing is they secured the girdle of St. Vince McMaximus, and with a bonus of 114,000 loot, that's going to be able to, buy a lot of goodwill on the part of the widows of the fallen. So let me just leave you with this. This is a very complicated process, but it doesn't start off complicated. It starts off fairly simple, and then things kind of grow and snowball and spiral out of control until you wind up having armies marching hither and yon. And it's utterly fascinating to me, the fact that we had a number of battles take place at the exact same locations. I think 3 times here. We had a second battle of Baron Elizabeth Farm. We had a couple of battles at Pink Phantom Hills. I guess, these are real close to each other. Not quite, but almost in the same area. And then when you look at, just randomly, think about how complicated it was figuring out the results of these 2 sieges. If we had had one card go one other way, then it might have taken a lot less time. And by the time the Emperor got over here, all of these Orcs would have been sprung free. And maybe the Orcs would have claimed Hobfort and this whole portion of the Broman Empire. And they use the Godspring River as a natural boundary. Maybe the Bromans lose a chunk of their empire if things go just a little bit different. As it is, it's almost storybook, isn't it? Look to the east at dawn on the 3rd day. Just as the walls are falling, just as the last defenders are preparing to open the gates and beg for mercy, who should appear on the horizon but the Emperor himself to bolster their spirit for that one more, call it half a day, for the army to come marching in? You couldn't plan this. I certainly didn't plan it. There's so many steps that led up to that point. It's so complicated, and yet it comes down to the wire like that. How often does this happen in our miniature war games? And often enough that it keeps us bellying back up to the table for more time and time again. Hey guys, thanks for coming along with me on this amazing journey. Thanks to those of you, Jim, Pink Phantom, who jumped in and ran a couple of games. Plus, all of you guys that decided to run, that helped me out by running the Battle of Watchtower, or the prison rescue up here. Right, this is no longer a solo war game, and I'm kind of thinking we might want to do that, like, for real. Maybe do some distributed wargaming. Set up a campaign, and then start setting up battles, and then just farming them out. If any of you guys want to run a battle, I can give you the forces. We can connect, and I can say, look, here's, you've seen the video, you know who's coming from where, and maybe we can, I don't know, but you tell me if that's something you think you'd be interested in, where I basically host a campaign and don't run a single battle, just turn it all over to you guys. If you'd be interested in joining, hit me up down in the comments. We'll give it some time, to gel the ideas to cook, and then we'll hit you up in a couple of months, maybe sooner, maybe later, who knows. There's so much more good wargaming we got to get to. I hope you come along with me. Until then, I'm praying for you.